Hey everyone, what if you saw a hero die right in front of you and had to take their place? What would you do? Our story begins with Lin Ling, a very talented young advertiser. He's in the middle of a presentation for his boss about a new commercial featuring the hero Nice. In the ad, Lin Ling highlights what makes someone a hero and how, just like Nice, anyone can become one. But he's interrupted by his boss, who yells at him, saying that people like Lin could never become heroes. In the middle of the argument, Lin's boss receives a phone call and finds out he lost the advertising contract. He's so furious that he ends up firing Lin on the spot. Sad and unemployed, Lin goes up to the top of a building and starts thinking. Even though in this world anyone can technically become a hero, it's not easy for an ordinary person like him to gain the public's trust. While he's deep in thought, Lin sees a commercial starring the heroine Moon, whom he secretly has a crush on. But the commercial celebrates the love between Moon and the hero Nice, which leaves him even more frustrated. Angry, Lin starts yelling, saying that even though Nice is perfect, one day he'll grow old and ugly, and then they'll just replace him. While he's yelling, Nice himself suddenly appears, walks toward Lin, and jumps off the building. Lin is shocked, unable to process what just happened. That's when Miss J, Nice's agent, arrives on the scene. She kidnaps Lin and demands to know what happened to Nice. Lin tries to explain that he doesn't know anything and attempts to escape. At that moment, Miss J realizes how much Lin looks like the hero and comes up with an idea. A week goes by and we see Lin dressed as Nice. He asks Miss J if they've figured out why the hero died, but she tells him the official story released to the media is that Lin Ling took his own life after being fired. Then she explains that in this world, heroes gain power based on how much people trust them. So the more Lin pretends to be nice, the more people will believe it. Until one day, he truly becomes the real Nice. After days of intense training, Lin notices that even his eye color has changed from brown to blue, making him look even more like Nice. Miss J tells him he'll have to meet with Moon, Nice's girlfriend, which makes him extremely nervous, afraid of being exposed as a fraud. With no choice, Lin meets Moon for a couple's interview show. The host is hero number 249, known as Eye of Truth. He's convinced their relationship is fake and plans to expose Nice. He asks Nice how many commercials Moon has appeared in, a question that surprises everyone. Even Moon herself doesn't know the answer. But Lin shocks the crowd by getting it right. Still not giving up, the host hooks Nice up to a lie detector and asks if Moon is really his girlfriend. Nervous, Lin answers that she's not just his girlfriend. She's so much more, and begins to pour his heart out to her. The emotional moment skyrockets their popularity. Furious, the host brings Lin's old boss onto the stage, now wearing a battlesuit. After losing the Nice contract, his company went bankrupt, and he gained powers fueled by the fear his former employees feel about being fired. He attacks Lin and the two begin to fight. The more fear people feel, the stronger the boss becomes. Lin starts to lose hope, thinking he can't win, but Moon encourages him not to give up. Lin regains his strength and defeats him with a single punch. After his victory, Lin becomes determined to fully become the new Nice. He heads to the Hero Tower, Nice's former home. When he arrives at the apartment, he lays down to rest, but he's startled to find Moon's dead body lying on the bed. Next, we learn more about Moon's story. She was a blogger who shared her travels, and when many people started following her, she eventually gained the power to teleport, becoming a very famous heroine. One day, she met Nice, and the two became the public's favorite couple. Lin Ling dreams about her but wakes up startled on the couch as he remembers the dead heroine and runs to check on her. When he sees that she's fine, he wonders if it was just a dream and goes to greet her. But she ignores him and says she knows he's not the real Nice. She asks what happened to the real one, and once she finds out that Nice is dead, Moon calls Miss J and angrily tells her she no longer wants to pretend to date Nice. Miss J explains that Nice is the company's most valuable brand, that the public wants them together, and that since Moon and Lin Ling signed a contract, they'll have to follow through. Frustrated, Moon says she's going to terminate the contract, but Miss J locks the two of them in the apartment without internet access until they agree. Moon starts destroying everything in anger, while Lin Ling wonders why she doesn't just use her powers to get out. She then tells him to throw fruit at Nice's statue with her, and when he does, she realizes he's different from Nice, who hated any kind of mess. The two start playing around, throwing food at each other. At night, Moon asks for his real name, and he says he'll only answer if she explains why she doesn't teleport out of there. Moon then creates a portal between the two of them and explains that his fans want them to stay together, so she can only create portals that lead to Nice. A month passes and they are still trapped. Moon screams, begging to be released, saying she's going to die if it doesn't happen. Lin Ling says it won't help and builds a swing for her to have some fun. The two talk a bit more, and Lin shares more about his life and his old job creating commercials for her and Nice. A week later, we see the announcement of Nice and Moon's engagement in a beautiful garden. As they celebrate, Nice's archenemy appears, the King of Destruction. He attacks Nice. As the two fight, the villain begins to ask why Nice is no longer responding to his messages. Then we find out that it was all part of Lin's plan for Moon to fake her death in battle so she could be free again. Miss J agreed with the plan and organized everything. However, the villain is not following the agreement. He wants to talk to Nice alone. He drives his sword into the ground and creates stone towers, lifting himself and Nice high above. He reveals that he is Nice's friend. They both wanted to be heroes, but he was chosen to be a villain. Still, they remained friends and staged fights so Nice could earn more public trust. That made him happy, but over time he stopped being invited to fight, until one day Nice stopped replying to his messages. Lin reveals that Nice is dead. Upon hearing this, the villain becomes furious and tries to kill Lin and Moon. Miss J tells them to run, but he doesn't give up, and with the help of Moon's portals, Lin manages to knock the villain out. While watching the villain fall, Moon reveals that she was injured during the battle. Nice panics, but Moon calms him down, saying she's just pretending and thanks him deeply for what he did for her. Nice cries with Moon in his arms, pretending to mourn her death, and everyone is moved. He gives an interview asking everyone to remember Moon and wish her the freedom to go wherever she wants. Days later, Moon prepares to travel, and Lin shows her that her portal weapon can now take her anywhere. Very happy with her freedom, Moon heads to a beautiful beach and wishes Nice good luck in his mission to become one of the top 10 heroes, leaving Lin heartbroken at her farewell. Meanwhile, the hero Eye of Truth watches the interview he did with Nice and realizes that Nice is actually Lin Ling. As he screams in rage for being deceived and humiliated on the show, a voice begins speaking to him, and several robotic spheres appear. The voice says that fear is far more powerful than trust and offers to help him, transforming him into the villain Eye of God. Yo, I'm Natan, your anime recap guy who watches way too many episodes so you don't have to. If you laughed, cried, or just didn't fall asleep, smash that like button and subscribe before I turn into a background character. New recaps every week, don't miss out. Catch you next time, legends.